making a video. Very late. It's probably going to have some personal bits in it, so it's not the usual video. But as is usual with my videos, it will no doubt have something meaningful and profound and substantive as an insight. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, just solve some more physics stuff. My brain is just... yeah, it is. It just is. It's just this, that whole thing. Like, once you get a few pieces of a puzzle working together, then it all just kind of, and it's doing that in my brain. It's just, everything's, things that seemed, yeah, there's no way you could get to them, are just in reach now. But anyway, moving on. Bella, the happy loser, Rick Grimes, whatever, and Holiday. Okay, so Holiday did another Asperger, blah blah blah. This is the cause. This is the problem. Kind of, somehow the mechanism of a lack of communication or an inability to be able to have a rational debate about subjects is somehow related to our personality issues. Yeah, I don't buy the argument. I buy the perspective and capacity to see is related to your personality issues, perhaps. I'm just not a big fan of this whole generic diagnosis for conditions. It's too sledgehammery to qualify things this way. So, you have this idea of a personality disorder versus a developmental disorder. So, you can have a developmental disorder that causes a personality disorder, or you could just have a personality disorder that corrupted your development, right? It's just too... it doesn't really get to the gist of it. And I suppose there probably is no gist of it, except the fact of if you just measure overall efficiencies. And even that's a little hard to do in this, by the definition of what is mastering life. So that almost gets to Antikantavad, who just keeps talking psychology rather than philosophy. He keeps talking as if what you feel about your life or yourself is something to do with the reality of your life and yourself. So if you're get yourself in a trance and you feel all good and you're dancing and you're doing this hula hula, bula bula, whatever, that somehow there's a reality to that somehow you have mastered reality. And no, you've danced on it. You haven't mastered it. You haven't efficiently, mind melded with the universe and got a clear picture. You've just danced to cartoon characters bouncing in your head. You've just turned yourself into a bobblehead. Long way from philosophy, I would argue. Completely different things entirely. Book, I don't know, cream of wheat sandwich. They're just not the same thing at all. Alright, so so I just get this personal bit over just to so there's no confusion that, people can call me autistic, they can call me an asshole, they can call me all kinds of things. It's okay. And clearly I had extreme developmental problems on Earth. I was a late mature throughout my whole life. I didn't stop growing till I was 22 years old. I didn't have to shave till I was 25. I was a 100-pound weakling all the way up to like my senior year in high school. I still weighed like 105 pounds in my senior, starting my senior year, and that's when I started growing. So it was all late, and it was late when I was installing the operating system. So you could use that as a metaphor, let's say. And I guess I would argue that a good operating system does take time to install. If it takes shortcuts, if you do it too quick, if it doesn't do all the get all the registers in line and check all the registers, make sure all the other software is going to be, it can efficiently incorporate it into the input and output devices, yeah, then you're going to have screw ups. And so I guess I could argue that maybe I'm running Windows Infinity. I'm just, it's just a much better operating system, but it took a long time to install. But yeah, that's the whole problem with this conversation, is what's the nature of a disorder. Not being average is probably something to applaud. I'm not saying you could be below average, so that's not necessarily applaudable. But I'm just saying the average human is an idiot. I mean, they vote for things like Donald Trump. They think that's reasonable. Under some circumstance, it's reasonable to vote for this thing as anything but an asshole. A preposterously idiotic, moronic asshole. An egomaniacal, crazy fuck. So, what can one say? By what standard am I disordered? So I guess I would just say that the downside of my developmental issues was a lack of self-esteem. I actually failed grammar school. I mean, I just D's, and I don't think I got a B in anything. I think I might have gotten 2 C's, and all the rest were D's and F's. This is a fact. I mean, I actually failed all the way up to like the 5th grade. I dramatically failed. And they didn't keep me back because, yes, I could do the little puzzle test, and I could figure out which was white and black and which was, I had an IQ of some kind. And therefore, it would be preposterous to keep him back because he's smarter by this test than anybody else in the class. So, yeah, you don't keep somebody back if they pass all the tests, so to speak. They just can't do the classroom thing. So that was sort of the issue. Yeah, I couldn't spell, at all. I mean, it wasn't like I couldn't spell a little bit. I couldn't spell at all. I never made it past the first round, the first word in a spelling bee in my life. Never. I never got a single fucking word right. And this is even when teachers cheated for me. I mean, they're telling other people to spell hippopotamus or something, and they get to Gary and they say, them. And I spell it wrong. I mean, it was that kind of thing. I mean, that's how out of the loop I was. And then there was the whole thing, I lived in Louisiana, when I was young. So I was a bit of a hillbilly, a little nature kid. I just didn't know anything about reality, this whole sophisticated world kind of shit. And, TV and culture and all this kind. No, I didn't have any of that. I just knew bugs and, life in the slow lane. And, and then arriving here in, the Mecca, zoom, everything was, wow, what the fuck is going on here? What is with you people? Didn't get at any of it. Just didn't have any, that's why I can do Ed, is because, I was a bit confused in my youth. Yeah, so forget it. I was already not caught up, and this just threw me further behind. So, and I was the youngest kid in the class, the smallest kid in the class, and the most, by the normal standards, dysfunctional. Didn't know how to, I dressed like a, I dressed like a hillbilly. I could nothing. My hair, nothing. Nothing. I just didn't win on any level of comparison. I just wasn't going to win. I don't know, except for boners per hour. Yeah, I could do that well, but everything else, forget it. Um, so yeah, so that obviously is going to have some impact on your personality. It's gonna fuck with you, and so that ended up leading to an anxiety disorder. You know, you're constantly compensating for your inability to deal with social situations and people, and so you're always just fighting your life and just trying to find some way not to throw up when you go to work, and try to just find this tolerable, but it's incredibly unpleasant. Everything you do becomes unpleasant, so it's like I analogize it to, look, there's people, you put them on a boat and they're fine, there's no problem, and other people are just sick the whole voyage. And it's just, I was just one of those people that just didn't like boating. And so it was just something you fought life. It wasn't something this isn't something you do on purpose. You're just doing it because you're struggling and you don't want to be a loser in some real sense. Even though, as a practical matter, I was a preposterous loser. But anyway, so fine. But the point is, I think, is that those disorders inevitably make you more competent. They'll make you more capable in these other ways, because your compensation will have to exist. You'll have to find tricks and ways around and all that kind of thing. So you'll end up compensating and become, in some Nietzscheist way, stronger for it, better for it. And I would argue that, yes, I'm capable of doing logic, and I'm capable of understanding the concept of a fair argument and doing all that stuff. So I don't think there's any evidence that can be demonstrated that I'm dysfunctional in this process of communicating ideas and defending them. I think I do it well, until somebody can prove otherwise, or show evidence otherwise of somebody doing it better. And as I've stated a million times before, I wish somebody would do it better, because this isn't what I want to do. I'm more of a I'm the background kind of guy. I want to run a president. I want to be the guy pulling the strings of a president. I'm a mechanic. I don't sell cars. And so that's another part of this, is that the clear evidence of my non-dysfunctionality was the fact that if somebody had a problem, they could call Gary, because Gary could catch bugs, and he could do this and he could do that, and he had lots of these little skills. He could he could almost look at a problem, something broken, and he could dissect, efficiently, problems. And so it's like I almost had like a Fonzie touch. I mean, I could walk up to something and hit it, and it would work, because I could. Yeah, in some respects, I could tell by the way something was functioning or not functioning whether this was a big problem or a little problem. That kind of thing. I'm not saying magic powers. I'm just mean that my capacity to understand mechanical things was rather intuitive. I had built up a intuition that was pretty reliable. And so here's the, it was obviously functionality wasn't really an issue. So to call that being disordered would be, in my opinion, silly. Yes, I wasn't an imbecile. I wasn't the common asswipe, in many respects. I mean, certainly I watched cartoons and I ate junk food. So anyway, getting back to Bella, and this idea of programs running, and then that's all we really are. There's no I. Every time we say, well, I could, in terms of changing my thought pattern, well, I could have a different perspective and do it. You're not going to do that. A program's going to do that. The same word associations and conceptual understandings that are you. You are just conceptual statements. You're a bunch of cliches. You have a bunch of cliches. Right doesn't make right. Might doesn't make right. Do unto others as others. Drink milk. Whatever it is. You have a bunch of this shit in your head that you've become attached to because the other shit voted for it. So you just, basically that's what life is. You acquire some basic shit, like, me no likey meatloaf. And that just ends up, other stuff gets attached to that because meatloaf, I don't like meatloaf program, sort of votes for other programs to be in or out of the brain. And, in a sense. I mean, they end up attaching to these different concepts, end up associating with each other and being compatible. And that's about all that you can say about it. So, yeah, at some point you learn these things. And so you learn the program that says, understand that your basic function, Gary, is asshole. You're a selfish fucking cunt. There, that's a truth. It's, as a concept exists in my brain. I honestly believe it. I've accepted it. Now, I would argue that the key difference between me and Donald Trump is he hasn't acknowledged that truth. He has no clue what a preposterous asshole he is. And that's his failing. That allows that missing, because that's a beautiful piece of judgment, because it allows you to understand when you're saying something because of your self-interest and when you're saying something because you actually intellectually understand it. And that little bell will go off when you can notice the difference. When you notice that you're manipulating for a self-interest and when you're arguing for a principled interest. And so once you have that program, the alarm will go off in your head when you're demonstrating you're an asshole. But that's it. That's what we are. We're just a bunch of these cliches that we've accepted. And you can almost see that in Anacondavat. He's accepted a bunch of this silver lining, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, blah, blah, blah. All this, this group of bullshitisms. Contradiction ain't so bad. Logic is a tool, right? I mean, that's one of his cliches. Logic is a tool. So facts can be, somehow you can make 2 plus 2 equal 3. Because you really don't have to obey what 2 is and what 2 is. You can just say, well, I'm just going to shave some 2-ness off of that 2 to make it equal 3. And that's okay. And that's part of his programming. His programming is, let me find a gimmick, a catch, some kind of cheat to shove all that bad shit under a rug so I can do my la 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 dancing on reality. That's all it comes down to. So there was also one. So programs is the whole thing is programs. So that's all you are. There's no I. There's just program A, program B, program C, program D. That's it. You call whatever one is the one running at the moment I, but that's all they are. It's just a bunch of concepts. An attitude, a mood, like, I'm just trying now in this video, the concepts running are these concepts of, we'll get to these certain ideas I want to get to, and get to them in some sort of human, personal way, convey your sensitivity and your empathy and your capacity to be patient and sympathetic and blah blah blah. So that's all that this is. This is just a contrivance of my programs to say, how do I make this argument? How do I make this compelling? How do I make this understood? And let's try to get a little bit of a flow so this can all just kind of seep into somebody else's brain and they'll understand what the fuck I'm saying. Yeah. So anyway, so that was an important subject. These are my notes. Yeah. Woo! Yeah. Great notes. Anyway, so I did circle, Bella doing movie reviews. Bella, Rick, Yeah, forget it. I'm going to take Bella's advice on what will entertain me. No, no, Star Wars. Come on, it's pathetic. Death Star, guy in black mask. It's pathetic. Let's just make, we'll make Luke a girl. We'll make the other guy a black guy. Fuck that. I mean, clearly. Formula, fucking formula. I mean, the syntheticness of it just has to have such a BO about it. There's no way I could smell the armpit of this fucking movie. Anyway. There's just no way. You can't put enough Sharon Stone boob in it. Alright. I knew I would go too far. Yes, of course you could. Okay. Alright. Sharon Stone boob, I'll watch. Okay. Never mind. Then I'll play along and just enjoy the movie. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway. Okay, so now the thing left is God, religion. What the hell did I write up there? System, take the... Where's that? Pointed going down there. Operating system, I guess that was, yeah. Okay, so the religion argument, I think, is sort of an interesting one. And it gets to this whole war strategy, you know, what we're trying to do or what politicians are trying to do. And this is all a strategy to manipulate people or to get people to do this and get people to do that. And clearly, you know, you would say, okay, so there's no way some guy cuts open brains and pulls tumors out and does all this kind of shit, and he's no doubt looked up vaginas and looked in anuses and seen all of this shit, and they go, oh yeah, God is so cool. No fucking way. So clearly there's a pile of religious people that really don't count as okay, you know, in the sense that they're not naturally reacting to the idea of religion. They're just understanding that this religion thing is a good control device. That, oh, people need to be afraid personally. And Hafliday sort of gives you an example of it, right? I mean, if I don't somehow dip his foot in hell, he can't understand. Because somehow I have to make it mean something to him. I have to somehow be burning his toes in some way for him to understand a social concept or a value concept in the rest of the world. So somehow, if he's not in jeopardy, nothing's in jeopardy. And clearly, Dr. whatever, crazy fuck, probably has some notion in his head, a program that says, oh, you know, religion's a pile of shit, but human beings need this control device or they'll be dumb monkeys and they'll do terrible, awful things and all act like fucking Nietzsche. And he's probably right about some of that. I mean, people are too stupid to understand social dynamics, and apparently they can't really understand they're not better than everybody else. I mean, maybe Dr. Crazy Fuck just doesn't think, because he's met some human beings and he's looked up their ass, that this asshole can ever figure out that he's not the center of the universe, and that there's a whole pile of human beings interacting here, and we're all on the same lifeboat, and that we all have to somehow take care of each other. And so maybe he has a notion in his head that, well, people need this religion thing, and it's not bad, it's good for people, it keeps the black folks singing and dancing. You know, I mean, that's probably what his relationship to it is. My mama liked to dance to it, religion. She had a lovely singing voice. I mean, that's what it means to him, right? It's some sort of, oh, it's a nice little stuffed animal, and you let the kid hump it a little bit, and it'll make the kid happy, and blah, 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 blah. So, but yes, that's playing, right? So he's playing a war strategy. This is how you win the minds of man, is by telling them, feeding them cotton candy till they get really fat and sleepy. And then you can steal their money. But that's all it is. I mean, it's nothing to do with the idea that education or intelligence or facts will set you free. So my argument is still just that simple. I mean, if you're going to be honest and assess your existence, and just add up these few. It's not a huge set of facts, right? Me, no center of universe, feeling organisms, disease and death. You start adding up all this picture. Basically, everything evolved from a bug, okay, swimming bug, crawly bug. Those are your two choices. You'd be a swimming bug or a crawly bug. And we were swimming bugs. Lucky us. Um, but that's the dynamic. Some sort of stupid thing with big mouth, smelly anus, gobble gobble gobble. I mean, this is the game we're in, and yeah, somebody's given those facts, and then given the facts that, gee, human beings are compulsive liars. They just make up Sasquatch and UFO stories and all this kind of shit. I walked on water and I drank blood wine and I'm a Jeebus. I raised the dead and such. I mean, they believe any kind of preposterous nonsense, especially if the story's 10 years old, right? Then you can make the fish really big. And if you make the story 100 years old, you can make the fish even bigger. And then if you make the fucking story 2,000 years old, you can make the fish as big as a fucking whale and say that some guy was having a campfire inside of him. I mean, it's all just such a crock of shit. I'm just saying that if you get to a child's mind, with just the last 4 minutes of this video, it's going to prevent them from being colossally stupid. But if you don't have that opportunity to inspire their mind to be a little bit more, not to eat every bit of poo, right? I mean, religion is just this easy poo. Oh, it's half digested mishmush. I'll go chew on that. I mean, religion is philosophy for the preposterously lazy. I don't want to go cook anything. I don't want to go make anything out of ingredients. I'll just go eat some poo. So anyway. Yeah. I think that's it. So I'm still going to argue that you can win the mind of man. That this isn't a war that has no strategic potential, that there is strategic potential here. There is a way for a few good men, to sneak across the border and assassinate Adolf Hitler and feed him to Kankai Czech or something. It's no problem. This can be done. I mean, it's a problem. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to be easy. But I'm just saying there are strategies that can win. And we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't possible for human beings to be reasonable. So it is possible, and it's possible for them to acquire that through something other than personal experience. Again, we're not our developmental disorder, and we're not our personality disorder. Because I would argue that I myself I evolved into my understanding. It wasn't like it just one day. It came in little bursts. I mean, there are certain days where you realize, like the asshole day. The day I realized I am a fucking cunt. Oh, shit. That was that was a day where, yes, it fell on me. You suck, Gary, you conniving motherfucking cunt. I mean, every relationship you have with anybody is all built on what's in it for me. I mean, that's just so fucking stupid. Obviously, half the day hasn't had that day yet. But yes, so profound day. But these days are built out of, you watch a movie, A Christmas Carol, or 12 Angry Men, or some other thing, and it, wobbles around in there, and it fucks with your head, and eventually something pops out like, oh, I get this. My life is affecting the other lives, and every decision I make or everything I do is going to affect somebody. If I marry that girl, whoever was going to marry her is now going to have to, like, fuck his dog or something because he's out of luck, or, that kind of, I mean, this is all a very, tangled web we are caught up in. And just those little, that's one of those concepts, right? That's one of those cliches. This is a fucking tangled, gnarly, goddamn web of shit I'm caught up in. You know, where figuring out what the right goddamn thing to do is goddamn difficult, because yeah, there's no obvious deserve path or fair path or even any like that kind of shit. You end up saving somebody from getting hit by a car and you find out he's a fucking pedophile, for fuck's sake. I mean, that's how fucking suck this is in terms of our interaction. And being able to control anything or do anything in any kind of truly planned, constructive manner. And so all we can do is have these general themes. Well, if I'm generally honest and I'm, you know, I apply as much logic to it as I can, in the sense I look at the number and I try to add the numbers correctly, and I try not to make any mistakes and not divide by the wrong integer or put a little squared on there because, well, it makes it make more sense. Is, you know, if I don't cheat it, that's the best I can do. The best I can do is look at it as honestly as I possibly can, put together whatever I can out of that, and to say, look, here, you see it? Yeah, doesn't that look a lot better than inheritance? You know, I mean, can't I give you a conception of reality where people get what they deserve, that the worker who makes the value gets his cut of the value, that they get the 80% and that the owners get the 20% instead of the other way around, and that you don't get for not doing anything but falling out of a vagina. I mean, doesn't this idea that getting because you did something, you worked, you sweat, you risked, isn't that something you reward? You don't reward falling out of fucking vaginas? Yeah, that would make sense. In my opinion, I can throw those concepts up there and say, can't you see this? Can't you see it? And that's all I can do. I can just do the best I can do. I mean, you know, I can make the argument and say, shit, you really think that there's some sort of value purpose in any kind of big picture manner, you know, vision thing, recognizing the future is much bigger than the present, okay, that tiny, like just drinking some brown water, right? Not poisonous, it's just got a little rust in it. And you could drink a glass of brown water today, and it will save 1 million people from fucking herpes in the future. I mean, that's how meaningful we could be in terms of the minor sacrifices we could make to improve their destiny. And certainly this idea of inheritance, that somehow you're going to have this perpetual reward engine for nothing called earn or deserve. What the fuck is that? Permanent cheats in every fucking race. For what? A class of genetic code? You can't see how that is insane? That you would never do that at the public square. You show up there to have a three-legged race and you say, well, you're Mr. Richie Pants. Yes, because your great grandfather found a lump of gold on the sidewalk. We're going to give your child a 3/4 head start. So all you have to do is hop 3 times. Yay! And then he gets the trophy and another lump of gold. You can't see how this is just fucking insane. So I didn't mean to get to that subject in here. I haven't done an economics video in a while, but I mean, it's just... So that's all. That's all you can do. You say, look, my programs run, they do this, they produce this understanding of these concepts. It's like a boob thing. I never really did that to boobs, though. Anyway, I mean, come on. This isn't complicated. Alright. Yeah, so I think I'm done. Yeah. Ian Crossland. Yeah, she mentioned him, but she did a video to him, and he responded to her video. And it was kind of funny that he didn't know your name. It's like Iva and Ian. You know, it's kind of a good name couple. The inverses, I guess, right? They're sort of Eva. Yeah, Eva and Ian. Yeah, well, not Ian, right? Ian. Why do I always call him Ian? It's Ian. Eva and Ian. Okay. It was that whole I thing. it's the whole I never knew how to spell. So I-E, what the fuck? Why are you making a difference? Fuck this shit. Let's only have like 10 letters. So many letters in the fucking alphabet. Anyway, so anyway, his video was sort of interesting too, because it's this mixture of finding use in life and the whole personality aspect of it, and well, so he's going to go back to Hollywood and try to be a real entertainer instead of a soap seller. But I mean, yeah, you have to do what you have to do, right? And that gets into all kinds of other arguments I've made. It's the seduction of the easy road, right? You're a beautiful woman, blah blah blah. You take advantage of it, right? Because yeah, you can get paid for doing that. That kind of stuff, and that we're vulnerable to these shortcuts. We're seducible out of our principles, and that's when we're being asshole, and the alarm should go off, and all that kind of crap. But none of that is reliable because it's hard to have all your programs aren't. Some of them are malicious. I mean, some of them are just shitty programs, and it's hard to weed them all out. Some of them are native. You just can't weed them out. Me horny. It's not. You're not going to do anything good philosophically with me horny. You're likely to step on a few principles based on me horny. But anyway, now I'm done. Yeah, that's enough of that. So I could throw in some free physics. It was a simple thing. I was just thinking of ellipses, orbits. And, it's always that, equal distance swept in equal time thing. The amount of the wedge of time here would create a small wedge in the big part of the orbit, and the little part of the orbit, the wedge of time, as it's moving faster, is a bigger wedge. So this wedge would equal this little thin wedge over here. But the real trick is the ellipse has a center point that's not where the sun is, right? The true center. And the true center is the amount of time it takes to do this is the same amount of time as it took to do this wider, longer thing. So the actual amount of time the planet Earth, say, goes down versus the amount of time it goes up, if the orbit was flat this way towards you, is actually the same. The same in the dimensional sense. The amount of arrows going in any one of these directions completely equals the amount of arrows going in these directions, even though it looks like that can't be true because of this bizarre shape. But it turns out all you have to do is do the right center, the real center of its gravity, so to speak. Not the center of its where the fucking sun happens to be, which is almost irrelevant, but where the actual center is. So anyway, yeah, so that just occurred to me that's an interesting factoid that I will put in my pile of factoids and continue. I've been doing some physics papers, so actually I've written a couple. So I'll put links to the physics papers in below. What the hell? I've started the one in the 2-slit, but that one's probably going to be, I'll finish that one probably later. And I've started the inertia one and just keep starting and hopefully finishing some of them, because I really intend to get something published this year. That's really must do. It's a must do. Because pointlessly explaining reality to 100 people on YouTube is not going to get the job done. Anyway, so far anyway, no connection to any tentacles of the real world. Yeah, I must connect to the real world to communicate with it. Yeah, somehow. So I have to make that connection through written words, apparently. You can't talk your way into a conversation. You apparently have to write a resume or whatever. Anyway, just also it seems like a pointless, redundant. The only efficiency, I suppose, is it forces you to write some sort of brief, concise, simplistic, forces you to draw this gross outline, which I suppose is good to have. We should all have a gross outline of ourselves on the wall somewhere, just so we have the idea that, oh yeah, I do look like a piece of shit. Anyway, no, of a video. So, take it for what it is, what it was, and such. Until next time.